like this. And you can find little choke points, areas where if you situate yourself, there's a higher percentage that you're going to come across something. And so that's kind of cool. So you can actually use maps and modern technology to find that. Also, obviously, take a look at any previous sightings, any histories, places with names like there's a place in one of the areas I look at called Devil's Creek. And if you have a place like Devil's Creek or Monkey Run or unbelievable huge Sasquatch sighting lake, that's a good idea that maybe there's something to that area. Also, lots of times if there's something interesting, it might be a farm, it might be like lots of kids around, because my goodness, it's kind of like their DVD player, I would imagine. If you're sitting here walking around and all you see are the same trees every day, and there's a kid playing around there, it's like, I think I'm going to look at that kid. Or I'm going to look at these horses, or something to that effect. Maybe that's a factor, I'm not sure. And then areas, particularly in the winter, if you can go to places where there are swamps and there are cedar trees and things like that, there's a better chance that they're going to be there when it starts to get cold. This just kind of gives you an idea of the type of area. It's the old picture that I showed you, but if you can see this whole area in here, there's really no roads. But this whole area through here is interconnected with rivers and plenty of forests. And if I wanted to situate myself here to potentially find a Bigfoot, I'm going to stick myself like here, just because there's a better chance that something running along this ridge through here is going to run into me. That's a potential area. But anywhere where there's just not going to be a whole bunch of people, you got a better chance of possibly finding something. But I also get my best recordings in places like farms as well, but where there might be miles between the next occupied dwelling. And another picture of me, and I apologize for that, but this is to give you an idea of one of my recording locations. The reason I put, that's obviously, it's got to, knowing my height, that's like 8 feet up in the tree. And, sorry, that was kind of funny. Oh, but I put it up there so I can barely reach it. But when I go out into the field, I always carry I carry 2 recorders. I carry one in my vest, and it's usually a simple one like a Sony IC or something to that effect. And I have a microphone attachment that hooks out so that I don't have to worry about bumping and things like that. I always wear a really cool tactical vest because it makes me feel really cool when I'm walking in the woods with a tactical vest. It just does. My wife is like, "You go out like that?" And I'm like, "Yes." But, and then I like to carry, this is a stick, and it can be used for knocking, it can be used to throw at, large animals that are coming near you or whatever it is. It just makes me feel better to carry it. And many cameras, video cameras, thousands of batteries, bug spray. I mean, I was going to have my whole kit here, but then I realized I would really look silly standing in here with my entire kit. But I like to have compasses, my collection kit, things like brown paper bags and tweezers and all sorts of stuff. I carry a parabolic mic. I didn't have it then. But lots of things like a Sharpie so you can write down information. And a Sharpie works really no matter what you're writing on. I always carry a med kit because I fall on things, and particularly often number 13 and number 14. And so, yeah, I cut myself. And then flashlights and things like that. But those are the things that I just carry in the field just because those are things that I've needed. And when I don't have one of them, that's when I need it. And so I stick them in that one cool kit. The top 5 recording tips, it was 10, but I realized I would run out of time. Number 1, and the most important one, is to turn on your recorder. The number of times that people have been in the field and heard something cool, and it's like, yes, no, you turn on your recorder. I recommend doing it before you get out of your car. Say something. This is where I am, this is what time it is, something to that effect. And periodically throughout the night, give a time or something like that, do timestamps, whatever. Timestamp, label everything, because you're going to end up, I can't wait to hear this vocal, and where is it? I think it was in July last year. And if it was July last year, I have 500 hours of July last year, at least. I don't know if there's 500 hours in July, I just kind of threw that out there. But I've got a lot of time, how am I going to be able to find it? Proper use of a recording instrument is more important than having the coolest instrument in the world. If you have the most expensive recorder and you've set it up improperly, you're not going to get high quality recordings. So for me, it's better to get a recorder that's decent, but all you have to do is push 2 buttons. One is record and one is hold, because I end up invariably turning it off. Let the recorder do its job. Don't talk a lot. I mean, you're going to talk and things like that, but don't talk over everything. Just let the recorder do what it's supposed to do. And then the next one is to make sure that you turn on your recorder, because it happens. This one's an interesting one because if you take a look, this is, I'm giving away secrets. That's my tent, and that's Matt Moneymaker's tent. And this is a stand of trees, and right here, if you could see it, the day after we left, an enormous X structure was found there. Like a huge one that wasn't there because I walked that place. I know this area. It was there. And so what's interesting about this is the day before this occurred, a few of us that are in this room went to scout this area. And we're getting our gear all taken care of and everything, and I decided I wanted to be really cool, and I'm like, hey Tyler, listen to my new knocker. And so I pulled it out and I hit it, and we got a response. And so it's kind of an interesting response to hear. You'll hear it. That's me. That was 5 minutes after we got there. And it's funny because Tyler looked at me and he said, did you have your recorder going? And I'm like, no, because I didn't. Luckily, we had a long duration recorder going, and so I was able to get that. But I thought I'd missed that. And that was just unbelievable, because here I am saying, this is a great area, everyone's going to love it, and you never know if that's going to happen. Because the minute you go somewhere, anything can happen. You're on the Squatch's time, and it's not your time, and you never know, but that one was from the get-go. That was pretty awesome. This one, the picture's actually taken from when Caroline and I were up in the UP. We were on our scouting mission, and we had the rooftop thermal, and I was call blasting some of my howls and things like that. But this one is a series. I really like this series because what you hear is multiple vocalizers having fun. Like I said, I've never seen them, but boy, do they sound interesting. Now, what was interesting about that one, apart from the fact that there's a lot of different sounds going on at the same time, and they're from different locations because I can tell that with the way my microphones are set up and everything, but the fact that one of them really jumped out, not only at me, but on the screen when I'm listening to it, and it was the one that was really close that went, whoop, right at the end. And that was an interesting one. It's like, oh my goodness, are they talking to each other? And what's that one doing right next to my recorder? And so it was just kind of an interesting thing to capture. And just so you know, this is after many hours of listening to like spring peepers, like to the point where your ears are bleeding. Yeah. But it's just fun. This actually happened to be this weekend at the B.F.R.O. UP expedition, and the reason that I showed this was someone has Sasquatch envy. But take a look at, that's like a normal human vehicle, and then that's one vehicle in the back. It's not like 7. It's one huge thing in the back. I just thought that was really cool. What happens here is at one of my locations, we get interesting knocks that occur. And they occur when one of the witnesses leaves the house. There's a really light knock, and they tell me they never hear it, but it's really close to my recorder, so I pick it up. And then when they go into the barn, there's like a home run kind of a knock, a really loud one. They never hear that. When they walk out, there's another light tap. They never hear. Go back into the house, and sometimes they hear it because now they'll slam the screen door and then poke their ears out, and you'll hear a really loud knock. And this is the best recording of those that I've found so far. I get a lot of these, and it's really interesting. In fact, it's to the point where I've heard so many of them, it's like, oh, another knock. But it's like, no, these are still knocks. These are still exciting. That's the trunk shutter. Just walks to the house. Door opens. And then that happens all the time. And it's in the woods. And so what it says to me is, there's obviously something out there that is letting something else know that someone is in their presence, and oh, they're back in the barn, or oh, they're in the house, and is, broadcasting that to the woods. Why would a neighbor be doing that if there's just some random neighbor who's like, I don't know. But something intelligent is making these noises. Like I said, don't know what it is, but it's darn fun to try. This just shows you that humans come in all different shapes and sizes. And oh my goodness, this guy is larger than you'd anticipate. And when he shook my hand, my arm went into it, and I'm like, this is very strange. But the audio that you're going to hear here is the one that we played for the Michigan Finding Bigfoot town hall meeting, the one that was Bigfoot and Wolverines. And they only played really the first part, the Ohio howl part. But for those of us that were there was a heck of a lot more involved. Honestly, people hadn't heard it. And so when we brought the boom mic down, through the magic of TV, you didn't see the boom mic, but the boom mic came down and they opened up the computer and hit play, and this came out. It was pretty exciting. And then you hear Matt Moneymaker say, "Can I go home with you tonight?" But it was really kind of a cool thing. This is the set of vocals that I sent to the producers, which initially they didn't listen to. That's the one they used. I don't like to hear that one. It does. That we hear kind of often. It's kind of an interesting one. Two tones kicking in, and it's one vocalizer clearing its throat. Sorry, I swore. Now I can cover it. My favorite. What's most interesting about that one was that was just after I'd gotten growled at about 75 meters away, which felt like a meter away, because honestly it felt like it was directed right at me. It felt like there was a bullhorn right here or more, or someone had really fired up an incredible speaker, because it felt as if, and I'd be maybe embellishing this, but it really felt like it hit me in the chest, and it was like it was pointing at me going, "You." And I was standing there with two of the property owners, and I'm just like, and I just turned off my recorder because I was leaving. It was 12 a.m. And so we kicked it back on, and that's when many of those in that series happened, particularly the sing-songy ones. Because what was happening was, as they were leaving the area, there were growls, but as they were leaving the area, they were going, woo, woo, and then one further away would go woo, and then it was almost as if they were like one would be here and the other one would go over here, then this one would do that, almost as if they were disengaging from a firefight. It was very interesting to hear it happen. I never saw it, but to hear it happen was just astonishing. And as a matter of fact, on my way home, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. And that feeling of hearing something that was really quite impressive is probably the closest thing that I've ever come to having a sighting or something like that. Because people have said who've had their sightings, it's just an unbelievable experience. Well, this was an unbelievable experience and quite scary at the same time, until the sing-songy thing started to happen, and then it was much less frightening. And I will get away from here so you don't have to look at me anymore. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. That is. One of the things that we've done in one area is we like to set up little rock cairns, just like hikers will. Well, it's interesting because what ends up happening with these is that for whatever reason, they really only like to take that one, and there it's gone. And you know this is the next day, and I'm telling you some trade secrets. Take a look at things like shadows, and if you look, it's a different time of the day when these two were taken. Just so you know, if you ever want to analyze photography and things like that. And this actually happened to be the next morning. These rocks had been moved. And it's just kind of interesting because I have one of my recorders right next to those rocks. And so it's kind of a cool thing because I hear things walking up and I hear them moving the rocks, whatever it is that's doing it. But the minute I put a camera up, it's done. They won't come back. So I can't prove anything, but it doesn't stop me from trying. These are some sticks that we found when we were off at Salt Fork. Right in the middle of the trail, there were these random sticks, and Mark Maisel promised me that he did not put those there. Not 100% sure I believe him, but it was just kind of interesting because we were on a random trail, and they're just stuck in the middle of this trail. So it was kind of a cool thing. That was the same day that I was pooped on by a barred owl, and so that was exciting. But here are a couple of random clips that I thought might be interesting for you guys to listen to. The first one is a clip, and I amped this, and it's just a whole bunch of vocals that occurred over 20 minutes, and I broke them down into about 30 seconds, just to make it a little easier for you. That's us talking in the background. And for fans of the Michigan Dogman, you do not want to hear this one late at night when you're alone, because I did. Now I'm sure that's a coyote, but wow, that's exciting to hear. No idea what it is. I captured it in numerous parts of the state, and this, because of that, I put this one in. Oh, not this one. It's not a coyote. Let's do that one first.
That was a coyote.
It's not my book.
And then that's not a coyote.
I just like that. That's not a coyote. Now, there are people that will say, you know, those are just owls or whatever. But you know what? It really doesn't matter, because what it shows, it demonstrates that there's a vocalizer over here talking to a vocalizer that's over here, and they're communicating. So whatever it is communicating out there. It's interesting. They're interesting woos and whoops and things like that. So I added it there for you. This is a video spectrogram of some of